Hey folks, sorry I'm running well late tonight. There's a good reason for it. A very, very good reason for it. Alright, let's just post this into all the socials. Cool. Gonna grab myself a drink and then we should be going into the stream very shortly. I'm not too bad, Josh. Yourself? That's done. That's done. Alright. No one would have got those stuff. My kid is dying, so that's a thing as well. Uh, Hey, Josh, Jamala, Taz, Shikako, how's it going? I'm gonna quickly go grab a drink and then I am good to go. Right now, mate, just some energy drinks to keep me awake. I think I'm literally running on batteries that are running on low. More on that in just a second. But definitely no alcohol. Because if I drink alcohol, I am passing out. Da, 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 da. Green Goblin, you belong to the Spider-Verse. Hey, Sanch, how's it going? Wayne's World. What is this? Monstrosity! I did try to get Palbosius on tonight, but I can never catch him. He's always sleeping. Having him on would have been nice on a Friday. Stop running yourself ragged. Dude. So this whole week at work, they finally given me some time to sit down and learn new skills for my job, which is QA. And remember how I was telling you guys how, you know, I need to, you know, I need to adapt because of AI and bring in, start learning automated testing with Selenium and incorporating AI with my job just to make myself more efficient. Well, this whole week has pretty much been that 8 hours a day solid, just in front of a computer trying to get things working, trial and error, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's been so exhausting. But it's been good fun. It's the first time I've enjoyed my job in years. Oh, they have Taz. They have. But you know, there comes a point where the media doesn't need to reach out to them. If the media is reaching out to them, they're sad as fuck. Spider-Man told me that he's retired. I mean, after Spider-Man 2, yeah. Damn right it's going. Hopefully we'll be able to get some game time in as well today. Chaos, what's happening with the layoffs in the ABK company? Never saw that many employees be let go. There's actually more to that story. But honestly, Josh, it's just it's part of the merger. Majority of those layoffs are part of the merger. It was always going to happen. That's what happens when you have a merger. When two massive companies like that merge, they have a lot of staff where the jobs overlap. And the people that are in the parent company keep their job. The people in the company getting swallowed up, they don't keep their job. It's really that simple. How's it going, Steve? By the way, for those of you that are in my Discord, whether you're in the supporter membership or the supporter plus, I have started assigning roles to you. I'll finish that today. To the ones that I'm aware of, at least. So if I haven't assigned you a special role to see a special section on the Discord, please do reach out to me on Discord. It's a very, very big difference, Josh. But we did see that the physical department of Microsoft has been closed down. Like, they completely and utterly shut it down. So I thought I'd start with this news here. And if anyone actually wants to, call in and express their views, I'll grab my Discord link, and or if Taz can put it in, I'm not sure if he's able to. But it should be in the description below. If you scroll down to the description, you should see it. If it's not there, let me know. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on an all digital Xbox, what your views are on it, how you feel about it. But otherwise, we actually made 4 days streaming. How's it been? I mean, to me, it's been very, very tiring, but I've also had a lot of fun. I mean, Diablo, for those people, we always have the Xbox 360, right? Man, that was dumb then, and it's dumb now. Oh, man. If there was a half decent demand for physical media, companies would be queuing up to license rights from Xbox. I mean, right now, the split between physical and digital, I think, is about, give or take, 85 to 15%. On Xbox, I think it's like 95% to 5%. PlayStation, I think it's a 80-20 split. The reality is physical medium is dying. Yearly Storm, but there's a lot going on with you know, there's a lot going on with that cancelled game. I'm not sure if you've seen my latest video, but it wasn't exactly having the best of time, right? It wasn't having the best of time. It had a lot of problems. And the reality is, according to what's being said, we're going to get into it in a bit, but according to what's being said, even if they threw 100, 200 employees at it, it wouldn't help the situation. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that were following Chile, you missed the penguin suit. It was awesome. I loved it. It was brilliant. The fact that he was dying in the suit was added bonus to my sadistic ways. Hey, just Willie. Streaming channel? Nah, I'm just started, man. I finished work today at 4 p.m. I told the missus we'll get some takeout. Ate some Chinese. I think it was like 5:30. I was watching that hardcore porn shop stuff. You know, the one where you go and they trade stuff in with Les, Seth, and the daughter. The family-run pawn shop. Not porn. You know, where you trade in gold items and stuff like that. Let's not get this out of context now, you dirty, dirty people. And as I was watching that, I put my head on the sofa, and the next thing I knew, it was 8 o'clock. I'm guessing you guys have heard of the show. I recently became like Cash Converter, guys. Yeah, I recently became acquainted to it. I actually absolutely love it. The rivalry that they have is ridiculous. The brother and sister squabbling. It's almost like they're adopted kids. That it's crazy. Streaming channel. I'm so sorry to hear that. Mike, I've been almost digital for a long time, full digital for a long time now. I very rarely buy physicals. I mean, I don't even use my drive. I can't remember the last time I used my PS5 drive or my Xbox drive. Well, I do with my Xbox because I tested out Final Fantasy 13. But before then, I don't remember. I think it might have been Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I plugged it in, I didn't like it, and I went and sold it. And that was it. I think that's the last one. But for those of you that want to, we're going to be doing some call-ins today on set topics, and I want to get some opinions. So if you do feel like you have an opinion and you want to chime in, then you know there is a call-in for stream section. Just join the Discord, and you can jump in there to be queued, and I will drag you in to the actual stream where you can ask a question, get an answer, and then you can pop back off. The only thing I ask is if you are going to jump into the stream and, you know, have a chat, try and keep the background noise so minimal. Like, I'm sure you can hear my son dying around there. He's got that 100-day cough thing going around here in the UK. It's not good. It's really, really bad. But basically, there's a really horrible virus going around in the UK at the moment where it gives you a cough for 100 days. It's not COVID. It's just a virus to your respiratory system. If you test for COVID, it comes out negative. Diablo, you wouldn't think that I've got a potty mouth. And I try to stay very, very much reserved while I'm here on stream. But if you ask my daughter, she says watching Gordon Ramsay and myself, you'd think that we're actually siblings. Yeah. I mean, I was at my kid's school today speaking to their head teacher and, their head of year. And every so often it was like, shit this, effing this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. For me, I just feel sick at the moment, but no cost. Yeah, I think that's going around as well. Leaf. I remember the Kong stream. Your daughter is right. Had it last November. Poor lad. Hope he gets very well soon. The worst part is he's had it twice now. He had it the first time, which it lasted for about 2 months. He got rid of it, and then after about 6 weeks, it came back again. I think the worst part is just the fact that you get no sleep, right? Me cook? Nah, I don't. I can't cook. The last time I tried to cook, I almost burnt my mum's kitchen down. That's never gonna happen again. They won't let me in the kitchen. And you know what? Even the kids won't let me in the kitchen. They just cook for me. I don't think I can complain. I saw Chili in the penguin suit. My phone was buffering, so I couldn't say anything. I know that was awesome, right? Chili in that penguin suit. Legend. Legend. It was awesome. And that 14 gameplay got me super spiced up as well to jump back in sooner rather than later. But yeah. But this digital future is coming. Now, I know that they shut down the whole physical department, but that doesn't. I mean, and I know a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon that this means that Xbox is going full digital already. I think what we're seeing is a lot of movement to offshore. So we've seen that they shut down the Blizzard customer service team entirely, and they're pushing that offshore as well, which I think is really bad because look, I got nothing against people offshore, but having worked with them a lot, it's not the same quality. They read from a script and don't really know anything. And if you've watched my previous video, one that people were pretty upset at me for, it's fine. It's my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. As someone who has worked in customer service in the past, I could tell you that over here in the UK, when I jumped into video games in the customer service, they actually made us play the games that we were doing customer service for. So we had real world experience of what the game is. Obviously, for a company like Empire Interactive, they had like tons and tons of games. So they'd make you play the most popular ones. But, that's what they made us do. They didn't just read from a script. At Blizzard, they were the same. And I feel like that's going to be lost when it goes offshore. They're just going to read through a script and put it in the algorithm and hope it comes back with a response. So I think that I get the cost saving there, but I don't think it was needed. Chris, I had a great week. Very tiring and exhausting, mind you, between my 9 to 5 job and this, but I actually, for the first time, I actually had a really great week at work. Learning new skills, picking up new stuff, trial and error experimenting. It was a totally different angle to what I'm used to doing, and yeah, it was great. Just very tiring. To the brain, anyway, at least. I once did playtesting for a company in Brighton, but it's too far to do every day. I mean, I didn't do any. I haven't actually had the opportunity to do any playtesting per se, like in those places like Cambridge and Brighton, because I know they do it. EA does it a lot here in the UK. But like I said, the first company I jumped into to work was at Sega, and yeah, that's pretty much where my QA career started. It's really funny because I actually studied law in university. And when I finished university, I actually just wanted a job to just get something under my belt so I could start earning some money. And so I went into QA completely blind, just with the passion for video games. And my QA career kicked off straight from there, and I've never looked back. Such a waste of university time. Because they don't let you cook because you'd make poison just trying to pour a bowl of cereal. Hey, buddy, I only tried to cook burgers in the oven, and I set the kitchen on fire. They don't let me do that. I know, John Gray. I know. But again, if anyone wants to jump into for a call in chat, just feel free to jump into there. Taz has already posted the link. So waste of student funding. Hey, at least, Chris, I do have knowledge in the legal system. I know my rights, and I still have a massive interest in company law. That is where I specialized in company and contract law, which is why when the ABK deal came around, I was so fascinated by it, like the whole Epic and Google stuff. I really like that side of the law in terms of contract. Criminal law, I really didn't enjoy. So I really, really despised criminal law. But company and contract law, that was like my field of expertise. I hope it goes well, streaming channel. I did, Force. I did. And I went into quality assurance. But yeah, that's why when I was covering the ABK deal, I hope it kind of came through the knowledge base and the excitement of the whole thing and being able to kind of see where things were going, where the FTC was failing, why the CMA's decision was ludicrous and all this. From a legal standpoint, it was interesting to see how they were playing legal gymnastics to try and convert everything into their own way and try and push things into their own narrative when clearly it was all bollocks. It was fun to see. It was fun to see. So we finally have a little more information on Mike Ybarra, which I thought was interesting because I did say yesterday, and despite certain pundits turning around and saying that there was more to this, that he was forced out, it's former Blizzard president Mike Ybarra says he plans to travel the world after departing Microsoft on the same day 1900 job cuts. That greatly impacted the Blizzard division that Ybarra oversaw. It was great to be a part of the team that built Blizzard and Activision over the years. I've decided to transition out now that it's merging with Microsoft, and happy to have helped that succeed. I'll be taking time out for a bit to spend time with the family and travel the world. Afterwards, we'll look for hypergrowth opportunities with great teams. So, considering the team below him, that was like, because he was the president of Blizzard, right? So the PR teams, the finance teams, social teams, all of these got gutted. He basically was the president of nothing, essentially. So he decided to leave. I still think it's a shame. I still think he would have had a role in the company. I think he would have had a place in the company, but it does seem like he left on his own accord. Like I assumed, even though some people were saying that he was pushed out, he was forced out, he was part of the 1900, I think that makes it perfectly clear that once the core of his team got basically replaced by Microsoft employees, he saw that as his right. It's time to move on and leave. because there was a lot of drama going around Mike Ybarra where, you know, especially with the PlayStation fanboys, they were turning around and saying that, you know, we gutted him as well. And you've seen some of the memes that are going around where they've been taking the piss out of him for being put, you know, let go. It doesn't seem like that was the case. It really does seem like he just decided his team got basically obliterated and he decided that it was time to move on. Matt Booty is in charge of ABK, yes. So Mike Ybarra would have been answering to Matt Booty. And maybe that's something that he didn't like, he didn't want. So he just left on his own accord. Either way, I don't feel like he was pushed out. I just feel like he just said, you know what, now's the time for me to just go do some stuff that I've always wanted to do. I mean, the guy's filthy rich anyway, so what difference does it make? But I think this can finally put that, you know, the whole situation to bed. It doesn't feel as if he were pushed, but he might have been. This isn't like JR where there were obvious reasons to suspect he was pushed. Exactly, Edward. I mean, there's nothing here to me that makes me think that he was pushed out. None at all. Nothing at all here is making me feel like he was pushed out. And then we have this over here. So this actually goes deeper in, takes a much darker tone to what was going on. There's an ongoing argument that the layoffs wouldn't have happened if Microsoft didn't buy Activision. I think Activision made it clear that they would have been impacted greatly if the deal fell apart. The layoffs today are awful. It really bothers me to see it used as some gotcha victory from the PlayStation fanboys. The point I'm making is that layoffs were coming either way. There was no perfect win in this situation, no matter how it played out, especially in 2024. And yes, it's shitty when Microsoft or any company has to downsize at this level. And as you can see here, Activision Blizzard also detailed the consequences if the merger is not completed. So if the merger didn't go through, right, this is what would have happened. The aforementioned $95 dollars, I guess, 95 cents per share, or that must be dollars, per share payment will not be made, and the company will continue to be listed and traded on NASDAQ. However, Activision warned it expects the price of its stock to decline significantly. So if the deal fell through, the stock price of Activision would have drastically dropped. It added there would also be no assurance that any other transaction acceptable to Activision Blizzard or its stockholders will be offered, or that Activision Blizzard's business, prospects, or results of operations will not be adversely impacted. So what that's telling you there is, if this deal didn't go through and the stock prices actually dropped, which is what was expected, there was going to be massive layoffs at Activision Blizzard. Massive layoffs. Potentially more than what we're seeing now. If the buyout didn't happen, ABK share price would have dropped like a stone. Either someone else would have bought and fired more, or ABK would pull an embrace style restructure. Yeah, there would have been even heavier job losses, is what this is arguing. So, you know, the whole... What's this? Hey guys, remember when people who ended up with golden parachutes and millions and millions and millions of dollars said we should really make this deal happen? I mean, I'm going to get to the Red Dragon because he actually did something today that actually deserves his account to be deleted. And I've never said this. I've not even said this about Alex. But what he did today deserves everyone on the internet reporting him to get his account deleted. Because he is a piece of shit. He is such a disgusting human being that he should not have a platform to air his opinion. No, he's worse than a clown. He is a disgusting disgrace of a human being. Seriously, he is just a nasty, nasty piece of work. I will place him in line with Xbox Hates Japan, if not worse. We're gonna get to that in a bit, dude. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But what he did is beyond a joke. But when you're merging two companies, layoffs are inevitable. It's just a thing. And I know, just looking at the comments in my latest video, people don't accept that. It's $1 trillion company. They can pay people to sit around, and they didn't like my analogy of, hey, pay me to do absolutely nothing. But that's essentially what it is. Business is business, right? Microsoft, Sony, Amazon, Google, they didn't get to where they are because they're good guys. They're all villains in this story. All they care about is making more money, and they will manipulate whatever system that they can to make more money. And they may look nice and consumer friendly on the outside, but the moment they stop making money, those cuts are coming. This applies to any business. It's 101. You need to make profit, and pleasing your shareholders is the primary objective. I know people don't like it and don't like what I said. I mean, it's evident by the number of people that have decided to unsub, and that's fine. You don't like it, you can go to a channel that's going to constantly feed you the stories and the lies and the sugarcoating that you have. I don't do that here. I tell it to you how it is. I will call out everyone when it's needed, whether it's Microsoft, Sony, Amazon, Google, whoever. Hey, princess, put it right there. Hey, they're all seeing you. They all saw you. Where you going? You could have said hi. They never heard you. They still can't hear you. They need to come right here, like literally right here, like that.
Hi.
Close my door, please, because Ram sounds like a faulty mowing train. Oh, coffee. That's good. I needed that. It's not that he talks about Xbox every hour. We're going to get to what he said in a second. But this is... excuse me. This is what's been going on and what is being said in the PlayStation community right now. Now people are saying that Activision would have been better in the hands of Bobby, where people committed suicide, where people were being sexually assaulted. Well, whether it's alleged or not. But this is what people are saying. That putting people back into that position would have been better for the staff. The same Bobby Yule said fired people to make quarterly reports. The same Bobby Yule said fostered a culture of sexual harassment. The same Bobby Yule said was profit over people. The same Bobby Yule said good riddance to and said Activision was better off. But now he should have stayed because those layoffs wouldn't have occurred. Mate, those layoffs would have been even worse. Jamala, that's exactly the point. You're just not going to do that, right? You're just not. And the same Bobby you fought hard to get richer. I mean, how much of a retard is this guy? I don't use that word lightly, but seriously, is this King Trash literally that much of a retard? Like every time I read a post that he does, I actually feel dumber for reading it. I I mean he can't even spell. Like really, I mean I haven't even seen this. This is just what popped up, but holy shit! Like how dumb can this guy be? I mean, this is the guy that records in his closet. This is the guy that thinks Starfield Hellblade, Starfield Hellblade is a live service game. Hey, a basement is different to a closet where you have to whisper. Mate, how can you even say this statement? Like, that's not even trying to be edgy or anything. That just shows how dumb you are. Right? That literally just shows how dumb you are. And just because the Game Awards are bought, Chili, doesn't mean the rest of us are stupid. And yes, Ati, it's the same person that thinks you can land on a gas giant. I mean, Chili's a pony, but he's a good pony. I mean, there are many things that me and Chili disagree with, but we're always civil about it. And, the points he makes, albeit always wrong, because I'm always right, we still come to the agreement after having a massive discussion that I was right. And that's the most important thing. Right, Chili? Because, I'm a nice guy, right? Me and Chili, we sit down, we have a discussion. I hear his views, he hears mine, I hear his concerns, but eventually we come to the conclusion that I was right, and then we move on. That's how this works, right, Chili? But yeah, now they're actually proper. I can't believe now they're actually bigging up Bobby and wishing he stayed at Activision. That is pretty sad. That is about right. Kind of results may vary. But yeah, this is truly sad. This is like a really really sad day to see something stupid like this coming from that from those people. That how anyone in any way, shape, or form could think that retaining Bobby would be a good thing. I drink Yorkshire tea. That has to count for something, man. John, that has to count for something. I drink Yorkshire tea. That has to count for something. If that don't count for anything, I'm about to go and toss it out the window. It counts as big head. Hello, James. How's my favorite proto? How's it going, Colt? Ah, you see, it counts. See. All right. So, Adam Conover says, it's incredible to me that there were people out there rooting for this merger because they thought it would somehow benefit workers and gamers. And yet we've seen over here, where is it? That if it didn't go through and it failed, the consequences would have been much more dire. But you know what? They want to go on that hill and start talking about how things mergers destroy jobs, ruin lives, reduce consumer choice, and yet they are still happy with Sony money hatting everything and reducing competition. So all the companies that had massive layoffs late last year were because of mergers too, right? I mean, no, sometimes sacrifices are required to get to paradise. Look, no one here, I think, is championing Xbox curator. That guy, he has some bad takes. And we've said this multiple times, both here and elsewhere. That guy does have some weird takes. We've said this. No one champions it. That's why you don't see a single person that's an Xbox influencer ever, you know, turn around and retweet what he's saying or quote to what he's saying. No one does that. Everyone stays away from that person. By and large, it probably did benefit workers and gamers, but that isn't the same as no pain, no sacrifice, no job losses. Yeah, the merger will likely have saved jobs. I mean, look at it. The ones that were unionized at Blizzard, the union leader came out and said that all of their jobs were secure. All of their jobs were safe. Everyone that was unionized at Blizzard, everyone is safe. I mean, there's a reason why you enjoy them, Chili, don't you? You pony, you. Showing your true colors. No, I'm just messing with you, man. Look, I had a lot of people over the past day come at me because of my reaction to Bungie, right? Now, my reaction to Bungie, and I want to make this perfectly clear, because for those of you that didn't watch my video, it didn't do very well, so I'm assuming not many did. So I want to make my position perfectly clear with the Bungie situation of the layoffs, the Insomniac layoffs, as opposed to the Microsoft layoffs. When it came to the Bungie layoffs, they got rid of staff to save their company and tried to retain ownership by reducing cost. I get that. That part, I kind of accepted. It was when the staff turned round and asked the senior management at Bungie, did you consider taking a pay cut to try and reduce costs? And the Bungie leadership turned around and said, we don't do that here. That was when I lost my shit with Bungie. To me, that was unacceptable. Right? Because even where I work right now, where when we were doing bad financially in 2022-23, our CEO took a 30% pay cut. All the senior management took a 30% pay cut, so we wouldn't actually take any more hits. We didn't get pay rises, mind you, but in order to minimize job losses, they took 30% pay cuts. That's what I expect from senior management, right? To try and minimize. It doesn't happen everywhere. And yes, the company that owns the company that I work for is American. So before anyone says that doesn't happen in America, it absolutely does. Because the company, my parent company is American. Well, not my parent, the one I work for. Now, when they asked Bungie management, did you consider this? They turned around and said, we are not that type of company. That is absolutely the biggest bullshit thing you can tell your employees, right? So that pissed me off. Secondly, considering Insomniac has been the only consistent company for Sony, who has basically been printing them money left, right, and center, with almost a game released every single year, and them doing games that are 8 out of 10 plus, right? They were receiving gutting too. They were, receiving job losses too, as the most consistent. Like, I get Naughty Dog losing people. They haven't released jack shit, and the one game that they were going to release got cancelled. So them losing people, fine, right? They haven't done anything. All they've done is remake after remake after remaster. But Insomniac losing people, that doesn't add up. That's a successful studio. But then when we look at Microsoft, this is a merger. You are going to lose jobs in merger because there are overlaps. It's inevitable. You don't keep two people for the same job. So that's my position. Like it or not, that is my position. At least Microsoft put their name on it and didn't use a first-party studio to take the bad press like so they did with Bungie. I mean, it's just silly, right? It's most likely because you're the target audience, to be honest. Most of his videos are just one-sided and attack strawman points. Hopefully they'll all find work quickly. Apparently Alex Smith is telling them to go work at Sony, so if that fraud has anything to do with anything, maybe they will. And there's only maybe 4 of those games. Bungie layoffs sounded more crazy. The Microsoft layoffs were we kind of knew were coming. I mean, exactly, Colt. I should call you Carl. Whichever you prefer, by the way, or Cult of Carl. You know, we knew that was coming. I said 3 months, bang on 3 months, it happened. And I'm happy it happened after Christmas and not before Christmas like we saw with all the layoffs just before 2023 ended. Black Panther, we don't do that here. I know, right? Bungie is just killing themselves. They aren't focusing on the right things and also are... I mean, that's the thing. Bungie destroyed Destiny themselves. And there was a video by Asdacross that I reacted to regarding Bungie actually getting more staff in after laying off staff and the position and the current state of, you know, where Bungie is with the final shape. It's a good react. It's going to come out tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it. But it's total bullshit. It's brutally honest though. They basically outright admitted that they would never give themselves a pay cut. They'd rather throw the rest of the staff under the bus to save themselves. No, I get it's brutally honest, but it's not the right way to do business. Well, it's not the right way to treat your staff. Because without those staff, you have nothing. Right? Without those talented devs, you are nothing because you can't do jack shit on your own. That's the reality. They laid off 1,900 from 1,700 workers. It's actually 22,000 workers, not 17,000. Compare it with Sony, who laid off 5% of Destiny. Xbox laid off 8% of its entire gaming division, not just Activision. I mean, yeah, it's a combined total. The whole lot of layoff shit is just nonsense, just people trying to make them look the big bad again. Feel for the people who lost the jobs, though. That sucks. Of course. Oh, it's fine. Hey, Chrissa. There's high vapes could collapse a lung. Vapes? If Sony could afford to hire them, they wouldn't be cutting back and firing up to 1/5 of their PlayStation workforce. Yeah. It's not ethical, but business really is. But Diablo, that's why I said, no matter which business you look at, they are the villain. They're not your friend. I've always said this. None of them are your friend. The only friend that they see is your wallet. They want to be able to surgically attach themselves to your wallet so they can constantly charge your bank account. At least Microsoft didn't shut down the studio, unlike Sony. I mean, Sony went full gung-ho in shutting down everything. 1,700 is the Activision Blizzard, 22,000 is the entire gaming division. Right. But yes, I think it was yesterday I made a statement saying that, you know, the entire division of Odyssey was let go. That was in fact incorrect, as we're seeing here. Matt Booty says Blizzard is ending development on its survival game project and will be shifting some of the people working on it to one of the several promising new projects Blizzard has in its early stages of development. So we can clearly see here that not everyone was let go on Odyssey. Some of them did make the transition to other areas of the studio where it was possible. So it wasn't a complete gutting of that studio like I initially assumed. So I got that one wrong. Pretty much, Diablo. Pretty much. Would this be a step in and shutdown project that was needed to close to do a Redfield scenario. And that's the other thing, right? I think this is the post that I want to come up to. Now, before we dive into this post, let me see if anyone has actually jumped into Discord. Nope, no one's in the calling stream. Remember, you can dive into my Discord to jump into the calling stream queue if you want to air a view about anything we've covered up to this point, or ask a question, or just put your point across. And yeah, all I ask is just be respectful, no background noise, and be clear in your question. But a lot of talk was done about Redfall and how Microsoft should have cancelled it, should never have released it. There was talk about Microsoft failing in their duty of care to be on top of stuff and not relying on their third party studio, on their studios to push games out when it wasn't ready. And so now it looks like that was the case, right, with this Odyssey game. And now that they've done what people have asked them to do, they're now the villains again. How is that even real, right? How is that even possible? But the Blizzard upcoming survival game cancelled amid development issues, and there was a lot of it. Now, just listen to some of the issues that was unearthed by Jason Schreier, who actually went deep in and decided to, extort the employees who are actually working on this project and get them to reveal information that they weren't privy to actually disclose. The project struggled largely due to technical issues. So the project was all over the place. It wasn't functioning correctly. They were having a lot of problems. The game was initially prototyped on Unreal Engine, but the executives, this was pre-acquisition, later switched to an internal engine called Synapse. Synapse is basically a mobile engine. The switch was in part due to a vast map supporting up to 100 players at once, which apparently Unreal can't support. I'm not sure if that's even true. Right? Synapse Engine was originally developed for mobile games, which created issues and the tech was slow to come together. So they've been working on this game for 6 years and they have nothing to show for it. Nothing. No gameplay, no teaser, nothing. That tells you how slow that they were working on it, right? Because if there was something that they could actually show to the world, after 6 years, they would have shown it, right? They would have shown it. But after 6 years, if you don't have anything to show for it after 6 years, you're looking at an Anthem situation again, right? Where the developers found out what Anthem was supposed to be after they watched the E3 trailer. Because if you didn't know, when the Anthem developers in the office were actually watching E3 as it was on the big screen, right? They all turned around and go, man, this game looks amazing. What is it? And then when it flashed up that it was Anthem and they realized what it was, they actually realized that it was the game that they were developing that they had no idea about. Because apparently BioWare at the time created a secret internal studio, internal team of about 7 people to go into basically like a secret area of the building where only restricted access was allowed, where they basically had to all sign NDAs, couldn't speak to anyone, and created that trailer for E3. And they didn't want the staff to see it that was actually working on the project because fuck knows. Who knows? That's crazy, right? Who the hell does that? But this part here is, I think, the most damning, right? artists continued to prototype content in Unreal Engine, knowing they would have to discard it later. So they knew that they should be using the software Synapse, right? Because that change was requested. It wasn't optional, it was mandatory change. They are changing the engine. But the creative artists continued, despite the change, to work on Unreal Engine and waste all that development time. Because anything that was made in Unreal Engine potentially likely could not be ported over to Synapse, which means that what you have there is a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of resources, a waste of working hours, because you'd have to rebuild it from ground up anyway over on the new engine platform, which has its own language, which has its own development tools, which has its own UI tools, right? So despite the fact that they knew that they should not be using Unreal Engine, they still said, screw you, we're going to do what we want to do. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how many of you are working right now in a full-time job, but if your boss told you to do something and use a specific tool to do your job, and then you turned around and said, screw you, I'm going to use this, fully well knowing that it is not going to work and is going to waste your money to the company, I'll be honest with you. How long do you think you're going to be employed? How long do you think you're going to be in a job? Exactly. So when the Microsoft team went in and saw the state of the project, they saw the state of development after 6 years. My guess is that what they saw after 6 years just wasn't good enough. So they cut their losses. And I think this over here pretty much sums it up, right? According to Jason Schreier, who I don't like, by the way, article, even if they added hundreds, not 100, we're talking 200, 300, 400 of developers, the Blizzard survival game wouldn't have released by 2026. The game started in 2017, meaning that it would have taken 10 plus years in development. And the game is going to look like this. This concept art is a reflection of what the game will look like. They said it would not be a graphically intensive game. It would look more akin to those roguelite indie games. You know, so it wasn't going to be graphically impressive in any way, shape, or form. And yet it's going to take over 10 years? We're talking a release pretty much for the next Xbox at this point, without it being a graphical spectacle being in development for over 10 years. I'm guessing Microsoft looked at that and said, you know what, at this point, we're going to cut our losses. The game is nowhere near where we want it to be. And at the end of the day, you know, we've already been burnt with Redfall. We can see all the signs here from Redfall. It's time to go. If you're going to do that, you need a lot of balls and pull, by the way. Seems like pride was involved heavily in this cancelled game. I agree, Carl. I wouldn't go that analogy. I told my managers and assistant store managers to F off when they told me to do something their way. I quit after 5 years. I mean, there you go, but you left. However, WoW of this game was still pushing forward. We already know it would have dinged as a cash grab. I'm 100% convinced. But you know, it's sad, right? So I think at that point it was just stupid. So this is the art thing that we're all talking about, right? So the Red Dragon came out saying, High Moon Studio level designer blasts Matt Booty and Phil Spencer for being responsible for layoffs. Asks Phil if he will be paying for her meds that's keeping her alive. Says will impact games and lead to less content despite suits claiming opposite. Right, this is what the Red Dragon wrote. Right? And the person that he was tweeting and referencing was this one. I like that you're using my tweets out of fear for my literal life, as getting a new job in the industry is next to impossible right now, and severance only lasts so long. And you hid my reply. So my dude, right, not only hid her reply so he can take it a developer's an ex-developer's point completely out of context for his own gain, so that he could, get that Twitter money. But he took someone who actually has a legitimate point about them, fearing about medical costs, because in the US it's not like it is here in the UK, where we have a national NHS system that pretty much protects you, right? If I become jobless today, the NHS will cover me for all my medical costs. Even if I have a job, the NHS will cover me all for my jobs because I pay for it through my taxes. Right? I don't need medical insurance. I don't need any of that. Now, if I want private healthcare, I can go to that. But in the US, from what I've seen, that's not the case. But he's using that as a fucking gotcha moment. This pathetic sack of shit. And it gets worse. So as you can see here, the Red Dragon is using this as a gotcha moment because, he is literally the most immoral piece of shit of a human being out there. And then you've got Nina over here, which we've already said here. Not entirely sure why I'm the new poster child for Xbox bad. I love Xbox and I love Activision still. I'm mostly frustrated that these C-suit types can sleep well tonight, while I, with 2 severe heart conditions, am scared of what's coming, that's all. I like that you're using my tweets out of fear for my literal life. So, this is disgusting from the Red Dragon, right? I mean, the GPs have gotten worse because of COVID, right? Ever since COVID, the GPs have gone to shit. But do you know what I do now? Streaming channel. I go to my local A&E. I go to their GP because they've got internal GPs. Then they give my GP a call and kick him up the backside, and I get an appointment the next day. It's an instant win. There are ways around it. In the US, to get an ambulance is $2,500. In the UK, Chris, it's free. If I had a problem today and I needed to get medical attention and I needed an ambulance to come round, we just make a call to 999 medical emergency, emergency, that's our emergency line. And we say that we need an emergency, we need an ambulance, and they'll just come round, pick you up and take you. There's no cost here. So here in the UK, it's very different. Um, but and the worst part is, I know where the Red Dragon is from, right? I know where he is geologically. I also know what his ethnic background is, right? And for him to be saying shit like this is not only just insulting to everyone around him, but people that know him in his culture will also, if they saw him typing this level of shit, would shame him to no end. Right? Because what he wrote there is beyond disgraceful. I think I'm pretty sure I wrote a response to this personally. Right, here's mine. Man, the Red Dragon really has no shame. Seriously, there is no shame in this guy. How does someone like this look at himself in the mirror after using news about layoffs, twisting the truths, lying, and then hiding the person's reply to show himself mighty? How small of a human being are you? Damn, and all for console warring. I like console warring as much as the next guy, but there are limits. Exactly. That's the point, right? We all like a bit of banter. We all like a bit of, console warring. We all do it. For anyone to say that they don't do it, any of it, it's stupid because we do it. It's all a bit of banter. It's all a bit of fun. It's always poking the other side, whether it's this or that. But the moment you get to this level, to try and incite rage and violence and just hatred, that's too much, right? That's when you know you've crossed the line. That's when you know that you are no longer part of the human race. You are just scum. Where did he say it? What did I miss? Your healthcare and whatnot is what I believe the USA should be using. Sure, we all gotta pay more taxes, but we pay a ton in taxes anyway. I mean, we pay a lot in taxes, but that's basically going to our healthcare, our schools, and everything else. So it kind of works out. I mean, it's still like the level of stuff isn't great, but at least there's support there if you need it, right? Yes, Chris, I was shocked. Apparently, they forgot and logged off. What am I missing here? What am I missing here? Wait, what did I miss? What did I say? Scarlet Scarab, the red dragon, is a piece of animal feces? I know. No one is denying that. But then again, that's insulting to animal feces. Because I still think that animal feces at least has value on Earth, right? Because when you look at a pile of shit, it turns into compost, which then can go into fertilizing and actually has a purpose in on this planet. I literally see no purpose for Red Dragon on this planet. He is literally a waste of oxygen. One thing I hate, dental is so damn expensive. Head hygienist, £80 NHS. Hey, if that was in the US, you'd be paying a shit more ton of money than that. An American once told me he'd prefer to pay $500 for private healthcare than $50 to the government. A lot of Americans don't trust their government. I mean, would you trust Biden? That said, though, jokes aside, I'm asthmatic. So I use like a Ventolin blue inhaler when I need it, when I've got like a cold and stuff. We get that for free here in the UK. I'm told each one of those inhalers are like $500 in the US for you to buy. That's insane. That's like life saving life, you need that to live. And it's 500? That's crazy, man. But anyway, let's listen to what this has to say.
A huge amount of people got laid off from a huge amount of people got laid off from the publishing teams and pretty much all the support staff got laid off, all of them. So Microsoft's going to outsource all that. So even though Activision was one of the few publishers in the industry that had an internal support team.
See, that part I agree with, and I think it's wrong. You know, getting rid of the support team, I think was just stupid. Like I said during the opening of my stream, the support team generally in the UK is really, really good. I remember when I rang up Google and I got through to a offshore support team, right? And I said, I'm having a problem with my Google Pixel. This is back when the Google Pixel XL was a thing. And I said, my phone doesn't charge. And they said, well, what's the problem? And I said, well, when I try to put the charging cable in, it doesn't go in. It is only partially going in. And I go, oh, okay. And I said, if you look online, it is a defect with this model of the phone. Like, this is the second one you've sent me, and it's done the same thing. I don't thrash my phone. I don't damage my phone. I don't do anything to my phone. I barely use it, right? But it's still happening. And do you know what their response was to me to fix a hardware issue? Do you know what their response to me was? And I mean, I lost my shit on the phone. But do you know what their response to me was for a hardware issue? When I'm telling them that the actual connector doesn't go into the phone. That was their first suggestion, but that wasn't their ultimate suggestion. Their ultimate suggestion was, have you tried to factory reset it? And I said, why would I do that? And they said, well, that might fix the problem. And I said, how is me factory resetting the device going to allow me to put the cable back into the phone? And they were like, well, we have to ask these questions. And I said, and I turned around and I asked them, how about assessing what I'm telling you off, on the phone and not asking me stupid questions? If I'm telling you that my arm has just been cut off from my shoulder, I'm bleeding, you asking me, am I suffering blood loss, is like the dumbest question I've ever heard. Like, no shit, Sherlock. My arm has been fucking ripped off. What do you think? And they got a little bit upset at my analogy. But, I find that, offshore companies are only going to read a script when it comes to support. Whereas in the UK and likely in the US, when they are going through, when they hire people, at least here in the UK, the couple of video game customer support jobs that I had, they actually made us play the popular games to get a feel, an understanding, and just know what the game is. So when a customer rings up and has a problem, or they can't get past a certain point, or they find it difficult, because we used to get people ringing up telling me, like, I can't get past this point, I think the game is broken. And we knew what point it was, because those would be the key areas that we would specifically be told that we have to learn how to get past in the game, so we could pass on that information to the client, to the customers. And so we'd tell them over the phone to try this and that. We'd give them that personal experience. But being an offshore thing, it would be, well, sir, could you try and turning it on and off again? Maybe resetting your Xbox or resetting your PlayStation. Delete all your data, that might help you. I mean, to be fair, it would actually help if they deleted their save file, because they'd no longer be there anymore. But that's not the solution that they're looking for, right? Yeah, that scripted response is so stupid.
And like, I've seen people on Twitter complain like, oh, they sucked anyway. And it's like, they're already underfunded, and they were kind of like doing their best with what they had. And now you're going to get even worse. You're going to get outsourced customer support that don't know anything about any of the games, and automation. Like, have you ever tried using like Xbox or Microsoft's customer support? It's awful. It's terrible. It's garbage.
Yeah, well, they outsource that to Xbox ambassadors, free, people part of the Xbox ambassador program, which is like
They do
really.
they do it for free.
They do it for free.
That makes me sick. That makes me absolutely sick. You know,
but corpos are gonna corpo, bro.
I mean, they actually enrolled me onto the Xbox ambassadors program. Full disclosure, I did absolutely nothing. I said, am I getting paid? No. So I'm not doing jack shit. I ain't working for you for free. Are you crazy? I left. I don't get why people would do it for free. That's just dumb. That's literally work, man. They should pay people to do that shit. I ain't doing that shit for free. So I yeeted out. But, you know, I remember my son, I can't remember if it was Roblox or something. He sent someone a message. Nothing rude. But he got reported on. And his account got locked. So I rang up customer service. And I said, what part of what he said deserves a ban? And Microsoft said, well, the internal team has declared that what he said was unacceptable. And it was basically asking them something like, what are you doing? Or, you know, can you please stop what you're doing? Basically because they were just constantly trading, clicking that trade button on him, and he couldn't do anything. Until I was telling them to stop with capital letters. And it's the fact that he used capital letters which got his whole Xbox Live account banned for 24 hours. In contrast, I rang up Sony's customer support. Well, I contacted Sony's chat customer support. Yes, I enjoyed Babylon's Fall. You can judge me however you want. So while we were, I had the American version of the game. So as I was playing it, the Nier Automata collaboration started. And any one of you that knows me will know that I am, you know, if it's Nier 2B, I'll buy it. I don't care. I'm going to buy it. It's that simple. I am going to buy it. If it's in the game, I am going to buy it. There are very few microtransactions where my wallet just decides to go and cash in itself. That is one of them. You can judge me all you want. I really don't care. So I actually got £20 credit, $20 of credit from a US website, went on, credited the account, and it didn't show up. It showed that I had $20, but it didn't show up. So I went into the game. I've got $0. So I contacted Sony and I said, look, here's the code that I used. I used it on this account. I can't access the money. So they looked into it and all this and all that, and they said, well, we can see it. And I said, well, I can't. And I sent them a screenshot on chat to show them that it's not there. Right? And they worked out in the end that because I was from the UK, the currency itself, the store, is actually region locked for that game. Or maybe just PlayStation in general. So I couldn't actually make that purchase. Now, I got a friend later who is from the US to sign in with my details, and my money appeared there and they bought the stuff for me. But I asked Sony for a refund because I can't use it, right? At least give me a refund and I'll just call it quits there because I didn't know. And they said no and disconnected the chat. So I contacted them back. And I said, look, this and this, the call got disconnected, the chat got disconnected, not sure why, but this is the situation. If you look in the history of the thing, they came back and said, look, you are not in the US, and we do not deal with people from the UK. You should not have purchased this game. And they disconnected again. So I contacted them again. And I said, look, can you stop disconnecting me? Because this is getting out of hand. All I want is to buy the item. You can put it onto my platform and take the money. Because the credit's there. Just credit it and let me get the item. That's all I want. Right? All this for a fucking skin. And they turned around and told me in text to fuck off and disconnected. Then when I tried to connect again, it said that my account was blocked. I could no longer connect. I could no longer contact Sony support. So I got the whole script, the whole screenshots, and I sent it to my friend at Square Enix and showed it to them. They were pretty much disgusted. And they were the ones that actually told me that I need to have a US IP in order to be able to see the currency and to be able to purchase it. But can you believe it? The customer service from Sony told me to fuck off. And, you know, the Square Enix rep apologized and was sorry about the service that I had. And all I wanted was information as to why it's not there. Right? That's all I was asking. Or for a refund, because the money wasn't there. I paid for it. And so they gave me the solution. And I've got friends in the US that I trust. So I gave them my details and I said, that's fine. I can deal with it. I can get it sorted, because they were offering to sort it for me. But I said, you know what? I've got people that I trust in the US, good friends who have PlayStation consoles, and I can just give them my details and they'll do it for me. Plus, it's my US burner account anyway, even if they decided to do anything, whoop-de-doo, whatever. But, I trust them. And so they actually went in, purchased it for me, put the credit, bought the items, and I logged back in and happy days. But for a customer service team to tell me that, yeah. I found it really, I couldn't get my PS5 to connect with a VPN. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't get the VPN to work through my PS5. And my router, well, the one that I've got, which is my standard BT router, the Smart Hub, it doesn't work well with VPNs. So it is what it is. But the problem was I didn't anticipate that was the reason. I didn't think that they would have blocked me, right? Because other games that I've done this with, I've gone in and just purchased games, no problem. DLC I've purchased, no problem. And that one didn't work. And it must have been a recent change or a policy change over the last 3-4 years. I don't know. But on the PS3 and on the PS4 at least, I did this multiple times where I could go online, play a US credit on my PS4 account and just buy stuff. So it was just weird.
They're gonna corporate.
This is why I've always told you I only care about Xbox. I don't give a flying F about Microsoft at all. I've only ever cared about Xbox. I don't care about Microsoft.
Yeah, but now you've got the Microsoft edition of Xbox, where Microsoft is at the senior leadership table. And they're answering directly to Satya, and they're not answering to Terry Martin anymore. They're answering directly to the CEO and the CFO, and you gotta wonder, like, how much of these layoffs is Satya being like, okay, if you're doing this, we're doing XYZ, but
that's all speculation.
Just gotta hope that it all leads to, just more getting things better, and I don't mean better for better games or whatever and all that kind of stuff, but a sort of more reasonable approach to hiring, a more reasonable approach to how staff get treated, and that the backlash to this and the way, the anger, frankly, gives Microsoft pause when they consider doing this kind of stuff.
Now, you
Will
mentioned...
they? Probably not.
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation there. And at the end of the day, we don't really know what the situation is, what the hierarchy is. But I guess there is some truth that now Microsoft, well, the Xbox division, rather than it being answering to Xbox only, it now answers to a higher calling, especially now that, they've been making these really big acquisitions that Microsoft has been taking under its belt, like the ABK acquisition, which purely was a Microsoft benefit, not an Xbox benefit. But yeah. I know Polar Express, I know. Islam, like I've got family in Turkey. I've got family in Northern Cyprus. I tried to do something very similar to that, but they wanted Bitcoin a few years ago, so I just said nope. I mean, when a country's economy is being run by Bitcoin, that's when you know that. Well, you can kind of tell why their economy is so shit right now. It's funny how Microsoft is the devil and all evil, but how many others gaming companies, including Sony, have laid people off. It's so idiotic. The problem with the layoffs from these 1900 is that a lot of them was expected. It's an overlap, right? It's an overlap. But then we have our expert in analysis. I mean, this is pretty tame, so I thought thing. But it's this part here. Phil Spencer himself admits a primary driver for the Activision layoffs is overlap, e.g. Microsoft jobs that already do certain Activision jobs. Hence, these layoffs would not have occurred without the acquisition. But that's still, but that's irrelevant whether they would have occurred or not occurred. If a merger happens, those jobs are expected to go. That's it. Right? Like you can see here, he's stating a valid point and then twisting it, saying that if this merger didn't happen, those layoffs wouldn't have happened. You know what? Is it Firestorm or Firesprite? They had massive layoffs after Sony took over and destroyed their company internally. You never see him talking about that, though. Never. There's been a number of studios that Sony has purchased and they've systematically dismantled, shut down, destroyed, ruined. But you'll never see the biggest fake pony of them all actually talking about it. You know what, Carl? I think you pretty much summed it up perfectly right. But saying that doesn't sound right. Calling him a tosser, that sounds way better. That's proper. That's proper British. Wanker sounds more like Vinnie Jones. Calling him tosser is more Southeast London. Right. Jez is having I guess, identity crisis. I don't know where he kind of tries to take a really central middle ground with everything, and sometimes you just cannot. And I think this is one occasion where you've just got to look at the facts and not try to play both sides. It is what it is. Activision would have been better without Microsoft with Bobby Kotick. Bullshit debunked. Obviously, the stock price would decline significantly if the deal fell through, just as the stock price increased significantly due to the announcement of the acquisition. It's not a moot point. That's not a moot point. That's a very valid point. But man, you guys are proper shy tonight. No one wants to call in with airing their views. Activision Blizzard King had HR, accountants, legal, marketing, distributors, and more that worked as support and became overlap that was no longer needed for the merger. Ford, that is correct, right? The fact is, all of those people are gone. But in a merger situation, that is always going to happen. It's not a secret. We all know this. It sucks 100%, sure. But it was always going to happen. And we said that those people would be gone. We all knew that they were going to be gone. So the fact that people are taking this as a gotcha moment or a surprise, motherfucker, I don't get it. Now, do you know what is funny? Do you know what I don't actually get? Because the whole layoffs part, I do get. But do you know what I don't get? Do you know what I absolutely do not get? And this one, I'm actually genuinely serious, right? Just let me cook for a second. Because every once in a while, you see a company do something, and they do it horrendously bad to the point where they completely and utterly cannibalize themselves to the point where they are left skin and bone. And the amount of time, investment, money they invested in a project goes down the drain because their ego gets too big for them. No. My ego is always amazing. Trust me. My head can never be too small. Just ask Jamala. He can tell you. But there comes a time where even the most successful companies out there will be humbled, right? They are basically shown and put in their place because that is just the way it goes. It's just the thing. But you expect these companies to learn from that mistake, right? You expect that after they got bitch slapped so hard that they would not make the same mistake again. Because after being bitch slapped once to the point where they got pretty much bashed around like the Hulk beat the living crap out of Loki from side to side like a ragdoll, you kind of assume that they would learn from this mistake and turn around and say, you know what? Just look at what the Alone in the Dark devs did. Because those devs clearly saw the warning lights. And they said, you know what? We're not going to release our game in November because Alan Wake's coming. We're not releasing it here because Spider-Man 2's there. Then it went to January. And then they saw like January was a little bit busy. And so they went to February. Then they saw Final Fantasy Rebirth and said, fuck that. They went to March. That game's been ready since September for launch. But they're delaying it until they can find a window where they can release it without competition. Right? But after the disaster that they experienced trying to go head to head with the Elden Ring, and they got utterly humbled, humiliated, and just shat all over, they decided that they had one more in them. They've decided that they are going to do exactly the same thing and now release Horizon Forbidden West at the same time as Dragon's Dogma 2. Like, at some point, you have to wonder whether Sony actually hates the Horizon franchise or not. Because to me, at this point, it really is starting to look like they really don't like the Horizon franchise. Because, you know, they've already seen what happened when they pitted them against Elden Ring. Now, we do not know how successful Dragon's Dogma is going to be, but we didn't know Elden Ring. But at least with Dragon's Dogma, there is a cult following for this game. People have been looking forward to the sequel for a long time, right? For a long time. And to say, right, I am going to release my game at the same time as a game that can potentially and more than likely will completely overshadow my game's launch. Make it make sense. Someone in chat, make this make sense. Because to me, this doesn't make sense. I want it to make sense, but it's not making sense. To me, this just doesn't make any sense at all. And I want it to make sense because as you know, PC Focus is here, another PlayStation game dead on arrival. Horizon Forbidden West launches one day before Dragon's Dogma 2, something similar like Elden Ring launch and Horizon Forbidden West for consoles. I mean, That's just, what are you even doing at this point? You know, what are you even doing at this point? I don't understand. I just don't understand. What are you even doing at this point? Because I don't know. To me, that's just asking for trouble, right? PS5 and PC. So the way Sony does their releases, they release the base game. Then if there's a DLC, they release the DLC, and only after the DLC, they release a complete edition. It's also why the physical version of Cyberpunk doesn't have Phantom Liberty on the disc, because Sony doesn't allow for that. Had Phantom Liberty came out, and what they were releasing in the disc form was like the complete edition, after Phantom Liberty came out, then they can put it on the disc. But Sony's policy states that if it's not already been released, they can't put it onto the disc. They can't put it like an all-in-one. They have to give you a download code. That's a really weird policy. But that's a policy that's pretty much screwed over PlayStation fans. Hey, ADM, how's it going? So for those of you that love Tekken, here's a little snippet that's has been taken from the Digital Foundry video. Let's hear it out.
PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X then use Unreal's dynamic resolution scaler with a maximum resolution of native 4K with a minimum 50% scale on both axes. In reality, they both hang closer to 1440p, well, slightly above actually, but I found that the Series X generally boasts a higher resolution than PS5 if you stop and look at them in similar situations, so there is an advantage in favor of Series X, but it's very slight. The Series S then targets 1080 with PlayStation 5 and Xbox.
So the Series X version of Tekken 8 runs the best? Scarlet, the bugs of us will live forever. Anyone interested in Tekken 8? I'm not a fighting game fan anymore. But if you are, Xbox seems to be the way to go. Get yourself an arcade stick. Boom! Only until the mythical PS5 Pro, which doesn't exist, probably won't exist, and at the rate with this PS5 Slim, they can't even afford to cover the R&D costs for that console. So, God knows when. I've already built myself a Xbox refresh when Starfield came out. I hope we got a new console to match it. Chaos, I'll say this. Sony is really scummy for making the add-ons for PS4 and PS5 games locked to the PS5 for the DLC. That's even more crazy. I think, to be honest, that doesn't get enough hate. Oh, you mean like Yuffie's DLC for Final Fantasy VII? What do you think a price tag for the PS5 Pro would be? $699. If they want to ship it out in a kind of stable form, $599 would be it, but I can't see them selling it for $599. So it's going to be $699 or $799. And at that point, I think they're just going to price it out of the market. The problem that they have, though, is this. What games are going to utilize it outside of first party? I mean, the game isn't going to run 4K 60, even with the upgrade. It's not going to do native 4K 60. So what's going to push that hardware? And because they have to support the lower end console, whatever the limitations of the Series X and the PS5 is, all the games that come out that are next gen have to cater for the limitations of the Series X and the PS5. So even if the PS5 Pro could do this magical thing that it's totally capable of, if it's a third-party multi-plat game, it's going to be restricted to what the Series X and the PS5 can do. And as we've seen with some of the companies still supporting the Xbox One and the PS4, that gets even lower. So the limitations of what they have go even further down to make sure that they can run on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So this mid-gen refresh is a waste of money, right? It's a total waste of money. PS5 remastered, I know, right? Still need to play the Yuffie expansion. Bought Final Fantasy and Remake Integrate, and that bundles in the Yuffie expansion for only 15 quid. Good deal. Dude, where the hell did you buy it for 15 quid? You scoundrel. I've been looking for a physical version of that for that price. Could never find it. Unless you're saying digital, then yeah, digital I could get it. Ghost, Final Fantasy 7, Horizon, God of War. It forces people to spend $500 to get the full experience. Was the Ghost DLC not released on PS4? Ah, digital, right. I wanted to own it physical, just like ta-da! I wanted to own this physical. Yes, it's the Final Fantasy HD on Xbox. Type 0. Because I think I found the physical version for £25 here in the UK finally. Still need to pick up the Final Fantasy 16 physical as well before they go crazy price. But with Dawn Trail coming, I need to save some money because that's going to be like it's going to be about £200 for the collector's edition for Final Fantasy 14. And considering I have all the collector's editions from 1.0, 2.0 up to 6.0, I kind of need the 7.0. But I do need to play through the Yuffie DLC. It is 4 hours long. My question to you all, right? I know there's like 50 of you in here, but serious question. After I've gone through Suffering from Gollum next week, Wednesday, so that is when we're going to be streaming Gollum. Next week, Wednesday, we will be streaming Gollum. So you all better turn up to that, because if I'm suffering, you punks are suffering with me. I want to do some game streams on the channel as well. Like, we'll do the newscast and stuff. I'm going to try and do some game streaming as well, because a number of you have asked me, and depending on how the views turn out, we can look to incorporate that in. I know some people aren't interested in watching gaming, but we can still discuss news as we are gaming, so I've got no problem with that. But depending on how the views and the numbers show, we'll see how that goes. So I want to trial it out, because I am looking to stream on this channel Tuesday to Friday, weekends being optional if I have time. And I hope you're all enjoying the content. But Gollum is going to be on Wednesday. The next game I was looking to stream after that was Hellblade. Because Hellblade 2 is coming. So I'm not sure how you all feel about Hellblade, because some of you haven't played it or seen it. So I think it would be like a good segue. It's like a 8 to 10 hour game, so 2 streams should finish that off no problem. But I was also wanted to know, how do you feel about Yuffie's DLC? Because I haven't played that yet, and I am going to be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I want to play through Yuffie's DLC before then. If you have no interest in Yuffie's DLC or a PlayStation game being streamed on this channel, that is perfectly fine. I can play it in my own time. I've got no problem with that. But I just want to gauge your opinion on the matter. That's a long-winded way of saying, what do you want? More not safe for work. Okay. Gonna get fresh popcorn for column stream. I'm already booked for column. No, that's cool, dude. But it's just, would you like? I know some of you do enjoy Final Fantasy games. You may have not played Yuffie's DLC. Is that something? No. Jamala, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because if I play something that I want and no one turns up, there's no point in me streaming to one person. I want to enjoy what I'm playing, but at the same time entertain you all as well, right? So as much as I agree with that sentiment, the reality is in the content creation world, that doesn't work. Well, that's why I said between, I'm looking at Hellblade because I really like Hellblade. I finished it, but I don't mind. And, recently I played through Alan Wake 2, which I need to replay again. But wait. No, not on my PC. Not on my PC. Okay, get down. Down you go. He loves sitting on top of my PC where the fans are blowing up in his ass. He gets the warmth coming up his anal hole, so he's like, oh yeah, baby, let's do this shit. He just sits there loving that fan blowing right up his ass. No, don't go back there. Don't you even think about it. Yeah, you know I'm talking to you. I am very British. But no. Like I said, that's why I just want to pick something. He does like to turn my PC off. He has turned my PC off so many times during streams, it's not funny. I'm livid enough. I'm livid. Enough is enough. Phil Spencer and Mike Booty have to resign right now. I'm shaking. I can't believe this. Arthur 1, what happened? Joke. What's up, bro? How you doing? I was about to say. It will never not be funny. So yeah, just let me know what you guys want. If you want some Hellblade content, that's fine. If you want some, because I still want to play through the remainder of God of War, for example, and stuff like that I haven't finished. So, it's no secret I do game on the PlayStation as well as my Xbox. But if you guys haven't played Hellblade, that might be a good segue. So it's something that you get to experience for the first time. If you're planning on playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth but don't want to buy the Yuffie DLC, that is also a segue that we can go into. So just let me know what you think. Taz right now should basically set up a poll. That's the right thing to do. So I thought this for you. Are you serious? No. Chat, I shit you not, right? He's sitting on my PC right now and looking away so he doesn't have to look at me. So he's not looking at me. So he's not making eye contact and he's sitting on my PC. Oreo. No. I don't care how much you start going meowing. I know you sound cute and all, but you're not going there. He's literally sat on my PC, turned his back so he can't see me looking at him, and he's just sitting there. Like, what are you doing? You know what? Let me move this. There you go. There. Have your box. I've given you your box back. Okay? You've got your box back. Sit on your box. Jeez. I mean, that's it, Diablo. doesn't look at you. Maybe some of you want to take a snippet of this. I'm going to put it into the chat as well. I think this is a good resource for those of you playing Power World right now, but it gives you a nice location of where all the mobs are, what the levels are. It's a really nice resource, so do make a note of it. The Upper DLC is like 4 hours long. It's really not a long DLC. So that's something that we can do in like one stream. Yeah, he's like in the box. Don't forget to hit that like button, folks. All support is appreciated. Let's see what's next on the list. Oh, by the way, PlayStation has a new game coming. They have a new exclusive. If you don't know, this one will totally, it's going to actually cause some waves. Have you guys heard of it? They've got I mean, it was just announced today. It looks really impressive. Like, a lot of people are talking about it at the moment, despite the whole layoff stuff. It's, it's supposed to be bigger than Indiana Jones, bigger than Avowed. It's bigger than Foam Stars. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm just going to see myself out. Hey, Wave 1951, thank you for that sub. What do you think? Has it been on Xbox? I don't know. I've never seen it advertised. Well, apparently this was supposed to be called Suicide Guy. And the fact that it's not called Suicide Guy anymore, they're a little upset. Hey, look, I don't have brown beard. I have a black and white beard. I'm more Gandalf than I am him, even though the belly pretty much does kind of reflect me. But for those of you that are on the PlayStation 5, you might actually enjoy this. It's made by Chubby Pixel, which kind of makes sense. So, a little dinosaur good. I don't know, man. I saw this pop up and I thought it would be a nice little parody into my stream. Because, they don't really have much else going for them at the moment. So there was something else. It was called Suicide Guy. That is correct. It was called Suicide Guy. They changed the name because Sony censored the name. So our good buddy Reforge decided that it was a good idea to try and come in, make a claim, and then his co-host absolutely shat all over him. And so I figured we'd listen to that because his co-host absolutely ruining him, for some reason, brought a smile on my face. At least that's what the subheading says. I've not fully listened to the whole thing, but apparently Mike basically just completely and utterly bodied Lono. So I thought we could have a listen and see exactly how Mike decided to just destroy Lono. And at the same time, if there's any videos that you'd like me to check out, now's a good time to send them through. Just a heads up.
Well, and I think it all started with Blade. That's when the speculation started, because if that was an Xbox exclusive, you would be shouting that from moment one. That's a huge win to say, yeah, we have a Marvel title and it's ours.
Well, I don't think you. Why would you shout it though? When you play Texas Hold'em, you don't show your cards right away. You wait to see what comes down the way, and you want to make sure to call or bluff or whatever. You want to see what it is. You just don't come out and say,
they're not playing Texas Hold'em. They're marketing a game.
I know, but they don't need to market the game and go, it's on all platforms. They can just sit quietly and be like, we can announce this later. It's like 3 years away. Why would they have to tell you now?
Okay, so from a marketing perspective, I've never seen a platform play coy with an exclusive. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't want to show my cards. Everybody always does. This is an exclusive. This is ours.
But they don't have to do. It's 3 years away. Why?
I'm not saying they have to. I'm saying from a marketing strategy, it makes no sense to play coy and not say something. That trailer's been viewed millions of times, and it says nothing about platform.
The marketing that they did with that thing is to get people to come and make the game. They do this all the time now. They make a trailer to get people hyped up, and then people are interested, and then they hire people to come and work on that game. That's just to show you that this is what it's working. This is a game that we're making. They're not marketing it yet. The marketing comes 6 months, 8 months before the actual game comes out, and when they start doing that beaded.
A
This
trailer
happens on both sides. This is not just Microsoft. This is anybody.
I have never seen an announcement trailer where they play coy with exclusivity and won't tell us. If it's an exclusive, they tell you from the day it gets.
That's incorrect, because when Starfield was announced, the platform for Starfield was not officially announced until like a year before. Right? So he's already chatting out of his rear end right there. Diablo? Exactly. How many people were talking about Starfield, saying it's coming to PS5 because they haven't said it's exclusive, and then the last 6 months they turned around and said, hey, it's exclusive to Xbox. They gave mixed messages all the way until the wire. And then they finally announced at the showcase, this is an Xbox exclusive. The same will happen with Blade. Now, they couldn't put down Xbox Series X and S because it's not coming this gen. It's coming next gen. And they're obviously not going to announce the name of the next console, because I genuinely believe they don't even know what it's called yet. They've probably just got a prototype name. However, could they have put the Xbox logo in there? Absolutely. But instead, they didn't use the Xbox logo, they used the Bethesda logo. And to be fair, the Bethesda logo on its own is good enough because they are owned by Xbox. Right? The Bethesda logo on its own should be good enough to identify that as an Xbox game.
It's announced. Like we've looked at every trailer, every announcement trailer in the history of gaming. They're never like, yeah, maybe, unless it's a third-party game. Like Indiana Jones was announced, didn't say anything about platform exclusivity because it hadn't been locked down into a contract yet. Third-party games do that. First-party games do not do that. They don't play coy.
But it's on multi-platform. It's on PC and Xbox. It's
for Pete's sakes, Mike, every game they've announced, Redfall, Starfield, all these games when they announce them, they put on the placard, on the end card, Xbox and PC, Blade.
Again, that's not true. Starfield was no platform agnostic until it got closer to the release date.
It says nothing. That's weird.
It's not anywhere near be done yet.
But they've announced tons of games a long time ago.
There's also
Whether
been other
Hellblade, State of Decay. When these games get announced, they make it clear that it's an Xbox game.
Okay.
Years ago, they're not even on the market. I'm talking 4 and 5 years ago. These games were announced.
Yeah, but things change. The market has changed. The landscape of video games has changed.
But okay, what do you think has changed that would make the platform owner not specify platform when announcing a big title like Blade? What
The FTC trial. They don't want to give away ammunition.
do you think's changed?
I mean, I would assume because Microsoft, all their games come on multi-plat, that when they announce a game, you already know it's on PC and you know it's on Xbox and you know it's on Game Pass. So that's the marketing, right? They've embedded into you. They've conditioned you now that anytime Xbox says something about a game, they're like, oh, it's going to Game Pass. Oh, it's going to be on Xbox. It's going to be on PC. That's the marketing. The marketing is Game Pass. The marketing is it's on all platforms that they're on, right? And then down the road, if it gets closer, they'll be like, yeah, it's coming out. It's coming on PlayStation.
But again, they've announced games many times ago, many years ago.
Why do they have to keep doing that cookie cutter stuff? Are they not allowed to change? They have to do what you're saying right now. They have to tell us. They have to. That's just the way it is.
I am not
it's
saying
written
they...
as the 10 Commandments, and
No.
that's just it. They always have to say it.
No, I'm not saying they have to.
That's exactly what
I'm
you're
saying when you spend good money to own and market a product, you are going to slap your brand on there. That's absolutely marketing 101. That's not changed
Their
in the last
brand
couple
is
of years.
that we're playing games to more players, and that's on PC, that's on Xbox, and that's on Game Pass.
But that's not in the Blade trailer.
It doesn't need to be on the trailer.
I can't imagine PlayStation announcing Wolverine and not having their branding everywhere in view.
I mean, Wolverine's branding was all over PC, right, facts? Right, chat? That was not only branded all over PC, it was playable all over PC.
Everywhere.
You
in
know
view.
it's on PlayStation because it's only on PlayStation.
But the consumer doesn't know who owns the studio behind Blade. The average consumer that's watched that trailer, I don't even know what the viewership on it now is. Opening weekend, it got like 4 million views. Those people don't know who owns that studio. They're not associating that game with Xbox.
Nor do they care either.
And that's exactly why if you owned Blade and it was going to be an Xbox exclusive, you would say it from moment one so that the public knew if I want to play Blade, I got to be on Xbox or I got to play it on PC, which
You're absolutely right about that. And Blade's not coming out for 3 years, so they're not marketing it because what are you going to buy, an Xbox right now to get Blade? I'm so excited for Blade. I'm buying an Xbox right now.
Like I said, I've not seen anything change in the market that makes sense of it, other than a CFO saying we're going to start putting first-party games on what was
I knew he was going to come back to
and a
this.
CEO saying we want to make great games and put them on all platforms.
Okay, Satya Nadella did not say that, right? Satya Nadella did not say that. Where is it? Ram, you okay, Randa? Are you okay? You sound like you're dying. You sure? You sure? At least I showed I cared. Where is it? What was it actually called? Go give a headstone just in case. What was that call that they just had? Because he made a quote, right? He made a Satya did a quote on games coming all platforms. Because he always misses one specific point. Let's see if it's on NeoGAF. Nope. Tomorrow maybe. This is cutting out the full quote as well. That's not it either. Where is it? See, a lot of them are missing the key point here. So before this quote here, right? Before this quote here, he starts off the conversation, which, you know, a lot of these publications are missing out. He starts off this quote here by saying, now with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King having closed, so now with the ABK deal being closed, we think that now we have the ability to really do what we've always set out to do, which is build great games with Activision Blizzard King, ZeniMax, and Microsoft Game Studios, and deliver them to folks across all platforms, right? Basically, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, Elder Scrolls Online, Minecraft, Fallout 76, Minecraft Legends, Minecraft Dungeons, Deathloop as we've seen, Ghostwire Tokyo as we've seen. So there's Microsoft is already doing games multi-plat, right? So that's already encompassed in that statement. Now with the ABK deal closed, which is Xbox and consoles, and the consoles part covers those games, that PCs, and now even include mobile gaming and cloud. The fact that he says and now even including basically is already giving you the information that you need. This statement has been completely taken out of context. So we've already seen that Reforge has multiple times not included that beginning part because it suits his agenda in lying to his community.
Forms. That makes sense of why Blade hasn't mentioned Xbox, because I believe it's going to be multi-platform.
I also believe you're a retard, but, you know, unlike me where I'm actually true, you're not.
That's what I believe.
Yeah, but I'm okay if it's multi-plat. I'm okay if it's just on there. My point is they don't need to say it now.
I don't think they need to say whether or not it's multi-plat. I'm saying if it was an exclusive to Xbox,
They would say it.
they would say it, yes.
How long did it take them to say Starfield was an exclusive? Just out of curiosity. I can print it in one. You won't get it for a bit, but the fault them has. I'm coming back to port begging for PS. Yep, pretty much Scarlet and Diablo. Yep, that was the whole purpose of his rant. People are going to pick out what they want just to spread bullshit.
That was my point. Yeah. Okay. That was good. That was good. I like when we don't see eye to eye on something. I'm gonna stay on it because it's like that's more enjoyable than everything else. Where are the gymnastics going, Mike? Like,
someone sent me something. Oh, another one from him? What's this? Man, you guys love your Reforge. I mean, I get laughing at him. People say Xbox games are trash. Why talk about wanting Xbox exclusives? So, like Diablo was saying, right now with them not announcing... I mean, Microsoft saw that by not announcing a platform for Starfield, it became the #1 most talked about, most searched game franchise, or well, not franchise, but title in the world for 2023. They're hoping for similar SEO successes with Blade, right? Starfield was the #1 searched for article title on Google. #1 in 2023. That tells you everything. That the marketing works. And let's put it out. Let's like not beat around the bush. Microsoft's marketing is horrendously shit. It is god awful. it's non-existent here in the UK. Like literally, you won't see any ads. You don't see any ads in Europe. You might do in the US, but there's a reason why they're not doing well in Europe and the UK, because they just don't market anything at all. Nothing. Zilch. Capiche. Not one advert on TV. I don't even see YouTube ads for them, right? I don't see any ads for Xbox. It's like they don't exist outside of America. But this is free advertising. This is free SEO. This is free, browser, search engine results. So by doing this, they're getting a lot of free advertising. It's crazy.
From okay.
Mo says PlayStation's dudes don't buy games is mostly casual. I always find that take interesting because it's literally factually and provably wrong. So it's not something that should be taken serious. It's also weird to say that they're casual. I'm not sure what you mean by casual. Like when we learned from the FTC that 48% of the people who buy Call of Duty buy it on PlayStation, and then a huge portion of the people who buy Call of Duty, like that's like the only game that they play and they play it a lot, that doesn't sound like a casual to me. It's just a silly pejorative to, I guess, justify the fact that PlayStation has kicked the living snot out of Xbox. Like maybe that's
48% isn't kick the living snot out of Xbox, though. Now, if it was 90%, I can understand, but 48% means you don't even have the 51% majority. And considering it's only available on PC and Xbox and PlayStation, I'm not sure where he's getting that justification from.
why people say it. Like when you're losing 3-1, you got to.
It's actually 2-1, but let's not get into maths because clearly maths is not his strong point. PlayStation has about 50 million consoles sold. Xbox has about 25 million. Last I checked, 25 to 50 is 2-1. Maybe my maths is wrong. Someone in chat do correct me because 25 times 2 is 50. 50 divided by 2 is 25. So unless my maths is wrong somewhere, that 3-1, I mean, last I checked, Sony didn't sell 75 million units. Or even if we brought it down to 70.
Got to have something to justify. It's also very interesting that the first-party properties from PlayStation chart. Who's buying those? If PlayStation guys don't buy them, I don't understand. Who's buying those games to make them chart? I'm just curious.
Jay, do you think that Microsoft just said, "Oh yeah, come on to Game Pass"? Do you think they didn't give them the money? You're saying, "Oh well, the players gave them the money." Yeah, the players on the PC did give them money. You're absolutely correct. But Microsoft also gave them a cash to put on Game Pass before they had the 9 million sales or 8 million sales.
Okay, and that's a point I want to touch on, right? So let me get Notepad up because I think this is really important. This is something that people often talk about and they don't understand. And this is something that I do want to talk about because people don't normally understand this and it blows my mind. Okay, that's a little too big. Let's bring this down here. Right? So, I'm going to use Guardians of the Galaxy as an example. Let's make this bigger. Right? We're going to use Guardians of the Galaxy as an example. Microsoft paid $50 million to Square Enix for this game. Are we all agreed on this, right? We all know this. This is how much they paid to put Guardians of the Galaxy onto Xbox, right? Now, at the time of writing, Guardians of the Galaxy, at the time of the press, was a $60 game, be it on PlayStation or Xbox. So we're all in agreement of this. So now, if we do 50 million divided by 60, that gives us a grand total. Let me just make sure my maths is correct because I'm pretty sure it is. Divided by 60. it gives us a whopping just under 834,000 units. Right? That is what Phil Spencer paid for with Guardians of the Galaxy. That 50 million covered 834,000 units sold. Now, if, the idea here, how many subscriptions per month would Microsoft now need to make in order to get that? So let's say 50 million divided by $12.99. So they need 3,850 people. So they need 3,850 people to be subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate to make up that 50 million. Right? I'm pretty sure there's more than 3,850 people subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate, considering there is around 40 million subscribers, right? But you know what? We'll just count the 25 million that's on there, because that's what all the ponies decide that they want to go on. So based on these figures, right, we can see that when they say Xbox gamers don't buy games, if you are subscribed to Game Pass, you are one of these 834,000 people that have purchased the game, because Xbox has purchased the game for you. Now, if I gifted you a video game, you are not going to go to the local game store and say, hey, my good buddy just bought me Halo Infinite, but I'm here to buy Halo Infinite. You have to be completely brain dead moron to be able to do something like that, right? No one in their right mind is going to go to a store and say, hey, my friend just bought me this game, but I'm going to buy it anyway. So this is what people don't see and realize in all of this. Because when Microsoft pay for these games, they are paying in advance for a set number of copies that they believe, where the company is happy with their sales. Right? 834,000 units is a lot of units. We're looking at almost 1/3 of what Final Fantasy 16 sold. But this is how many units were paid for by Xbox for the Xbox user base on Game Pass. Now, whether 834,000 people played the game, that's a completely different matter. But the fact is, if you played that game on Game Pass, your $60 equivalent was paid to Square Enix for it. Sure, you might not own the game and the game will eventually come off the platform, but most people play the game once and never go back to it again anyway. So what difference does it make? So to say that, that whole definition that Xbox users don't buy games, when someone else is buying the game for you, you don't need to buy the game. Now, if the game isn't on Game Pass, I've seen tons of people go out and buy games. But if it's on Game Pass and someone else is buying that game for you, why do you find the need to go out and buy it? Diablo, it's supposed to be really, really good. At least story-wise, it's supposed to be amazing. The gameplay can be a bit janky, but the story is supposed to be good. I played it on Game Pass too, enjoyed it so much, I ended up buying it to keep. Actually, I've seen a lot of people do that as well. But if they really enjoy a game, they will go out and buy it just to keep it. Anyway, I just thought I'd clear that up because, I see a lot of people not really getting that point, and it's really crazy to see how many PlayStation fanboys are so silly to the point where they just don't understand that logic?
Like, you're being delusional. That you're like, well, yeah, well, the players are the ones that really supported that game. Well, Xbox supported that game just as much as you did. And the difference is they're a company and you're just an individual.
COD is a casual game. Casual game. COD, Madden, 2K. It's just an interesting perspective that I don't have any respect for. That you're saying some of the most popular games in the world that chart tons of hours and money are casual. I don't have any respect for your position. I think you use casual as a pejorative to dismiss certain types of gamers as, I guess, they're not as significant or they don't matter as much. What would you classify as?
That's not what he said. Him saying that Call of Duty is a casual game, I kind of agree. You know, I'd say Battlefield is, you know, at least the old Battlefields, like Battlefield 3 and 4, was engineered more towards the more hardcore. I never really saw Call of Duty as a hardcore game. I don't know, that's just me though. I always found the barrier to entry on Call of Duty to be so much easier than it was with Battlefield. Especially with those people sniping from, like, you know, another continent.
Not a casual game. Like, again, I want to make sure and state it one more time. I don't have respect for your position. I think it's ludicrous.
I mean, he actually thinks people have respect for him. I mean, that's the biggest joke of them all. Jamala, I really enjoyed PS Now when it was £30. I subscribe to that all the time because I actually got some good value. And I think that if they left PS Now as a separate $30 thing and not gate kept it behind premium, they would actually get a lot more sales for it. But they decided to lock all of that shit behind their premium bundle because their premium bundle is worth nothing. It's jack shit. They actually, you know, the fact that they lock demos behind their premium tells you everything.
And it's weird to look at a massive chunks of the gaming community and just dismiss them as casual. Like, sports games, Call of Duty, casual? Like, what? Like, PvP game? Like, I don't know. I think of casual games as like games you play like very infrequently and, you know, they're more arcadish and just more leisurely. Those games, I don't know. And again, defining casual is tough because everybody defines it differently, you know. And Spider-Man was the 4th most sold game last year. Like, it's up in the top of the charts with Hogwarts, Call of Duty, Madden. It's above The Legend of Zelda only because The Legend of Zelda doesn't report digital sales. Zelda's probably up there with Hogwarts.
Only physical copies.
Yeah, that's probably up there with Hogwarts if you were counting Zelda's digital sales. So Marvel Spider-Man 2 is up there in the top. It's in the top 4. Like, that's proof that PlayStation players do buy games. Like,
I mean, only 5 million sold from 50 million. You need 10 million just to break even. I think you might have a problem there. I'm just saying that for a game that is a first-party game that's got the Spider-Man branding that you would expect to sell in the metric tons to only get 5 million sales, because clearly they haven't hit another milestone, because if they did, Insomniac would have been singing that from the high heavens. Maybe not now that they've been hacked, but Sony would have been, definitely. You have a problem. Because first-party games on PlayStation do not sell. Maybe over a period of time and a lifetime sales, sure. But that initial burst, what matters, the initial first 2 weeks, it's not enough.
just again, I think these terms and these attempts to dismiss are just, I don't know. They feel like death rattles of a console war that you've lost. That's what it feels like. It's like it's clearly not
Send it away,
at
streaming.
all even a contest anymore. And now it's going to be about revenue. Well, we make more money. We have higher revenue. I'm playing video games, dude. You want to go play pie charts in Excel? I mean, go for it. I don't care about that.
He said he plays video games. oh shit. Oh man. He said he plays video games. Chat, he said he plays video games. Woo! Oh god. Oh man. Sappho, we're talking about Hellblade 1, not Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 is in May. I'm talking about playing Hellblade 1, the original. So people can get the background story for it. Did I put down Hellblade 2 on the poll? No, I put Hellblade. Right. Jeez, man. I mean, he's talking about not being pie charts, yet he's bringing up like, oh, we made this many sales and that many sales. Then follows up that, yeah, we don't play pie charts or sales charts, but we made this many sales and that many sales. Like, you fucking hypocrite.
The only reason I've ever charted and looked at sales is because that's where the market will go. Like when consoles are selling it incredibly well, or Spider-Man is selling incredibly well, that's a sign of health. That's like, oh, this ecosystem's doing very well. I don't bring that up to be like, oh, this team's doing better than that team. Who cares about that? That just proves that their model's working. Their games are selling. This whole leak from Insomniac that creates this idea that like, oh, it's not sustainable, they're not making enough money. That's completely absurd. That's absolutely fabricated.
By the way, I really want to ask Reforge this, because what he said here is a really, really potent point that he's made. It's quite a double-edged sword, because when the CEO of PlayStation, Jim Ryan, says that the cost of first-party games is not sustainable and they don't make the money back on some of their games because of how high the production cost is, who am I more likely to believe? Jim Ryan or a bellend? Jim Ryan, who's the CEO of PlayStation, who has the best interest of PlayStation, or some bellend? I don't know, chat. Which way would you go? Would you believe that the CEO who's telling you that first-party games don't sell well enough to cover the costs due to how high the production costs are for their single-player story-driven cinematic games? Or would you believe a dumbass like this one? The jury's out on this one.
Their apps, they are watching the bloat of the budgets.
Yeah, the
right?
budget, if it goes up higher, I mean, if it goes from 300, what is it, 315? Is that what they paid for Spider-Man, the budget? I think it was like 315 million, something like that.
It was me around like 310,
Yeah, okay, 310, 315, whatever it was. Now, if the next one goes to 400, right? Instead of selling 7 million copies, now they got to sell like 9 million copies, right? That's harder, especially with the saturation point of if it's only coming out on PlayStation, and the clientele that buys it when it first comes out doesn't hit that point. That's bad for business. So they got to make sure they keep that budget, and that's why they might do the 3-parter where they're selling it in 3 different parts if that goes through.
And that's the other thing. It's not 7 million. 7 million, it's selling only digital copies at full price, right? 7 million is selling the copies at full price. The moment you dilute that with box copies and the console bundles, you're looking about 10 million units required, because of the royalties and how much they take. The bundled copies will take up to 50% of royalties of the actual game price. Now, I know the King Thrash, of the idiot, decides that he's going to only look at the lowest scale. But the reality is, until they break even, Marvel will be taking the maximum royalties there is there. It's basic 101 economics. These companies will only lower their percentage of how much they take depending on how well the company does. If anyone's ever watched Shark Tank or they've watched Dragon's Den, those investors turn around and say, I want 15% of your company. If I make my money back, then I'll give you 5% of the company and I'll hold 10%. These royalties are no different. They're going to take the maximum royalties until they hit that fresh point where they're happy, and then they're going to start reducing how much royalties they take per sale. So to try and say that they're only taking the minimum within that range is just totally stupid. But then we are talking about King Fresh here, and, you know, maths, logic, IQ was never his strong point.
Right. Well, and we also have to consider that more PlayStation 4 games were sold in Europe last year than the Xbox Series X and S. So this narrative that, like, PlayStation people don't buy games, it's just, again, like I said, you can demonstrate.
Have you noticed how he used Europe as the example and not the US? Now, we know that in Europe, Microsoft is weak. In Japan, it's non-existent. But in the US region, it's really strong. Very strong, in fact. Have you noticed how any of these PlayStation pundits will never use the US as a metric to compare against? They always use it against Europe and Japan. Never against the US. I wonder why.
The falseness of the claim, so why bother making it, right? And on the subject of bloating budgets and Insomniac and Spider-Man, that's 100% relative to this situation with Activision and these layoffs.
Chaos, when you say Blade is next gen, does that mean it's not going to be on the Series X? Correct. I've had this virtually confirmed to me now by someone that's, that kind of has that sort of information. Obviously, it's still third-party information, so take it as a grain of salt. But based on the actual delivery date, it's going to be on the Xbox next. It's not arriving this generation. But that also makes sense, right? When you look at the Series X, when it came out, it was supposed to come out with the flagship title, Halo. We've now seen, like it or not, they've announced with the recent update that the seasons for Halo Infinite are no more. They're going into lettered and numbered updates. So right now they've gone into CU29, or See You Later, as some people are dubbing it. So they're slowing down the Halo Infinite multiplayer updates. They're not going to be as big and grand as the seasons were anymore, but they are still going to be providing map updates, quality of life updates, features, game modes, but they're just going to be in smaller doses. They're called now operations rather than seasons. So they're going to be like maybe about 40% of the scale of what seasons were. That's a clear indication that now they're moving over to the next Halo project. Or, they're ramping up the next, a team has been working on the next Halo, and now they're ramping up that production for the next Xbox. Now, why they can't do multiplayer at the same time and keep Infinite alive, as well as work on the next Halo, only God knows. Because that's a bad decision, if you ask me. They should have, kept that team on the Halo Infinite multiplayer, kept that going through the seasons, and just kept on building upon it, because they were doing such a good job. And then had a separate team just working on the PvE side. But, it is what it is. If there's music, then I won't be able to play it because I will get copyrighted for it. Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge. Let's have a look. So this is the type of advertising I expect from Microsoft, right? This is the sort of stuff I expect from Microsoft. You'd never see Microsoft doing this sort of thing. And I think this is the sort of thing that they need to do. It's sorely missing. This sort of grand gesture, grand advertising is really good, and it goes viral. People talk about it. People are now aware of Tekken 8. Where was this sort of thing for Starfield? Right? Where was it? It's funny because my old workplace where I work is literally just, where that person is recording from the camera? I'm about probably, my workplace is 5 minutes away from there when I used to go to the office. Because I worked in pretty much right next to Tower Bridge. That giant ball wasn't a Starfield advert, was it? It was an Xbox advert. It wasn't a specified or, a Starfield specific advertising. It was more a generic Xbox advert, which had Starfield built into it because it had all sorts of other games. This marketing is specifically for Tekken 8. It's not talking about, Namco or anything else. I kind of forgot who actually is even the developers for Tekken 8. But, at the end of the day, you want that marketing to be specific to that. Like, let me give you an example. God of War London Takeover. I don't know if any of you actually saw this. Okay, so that didn't work. Where is it? Where was it? That's the Metro. That's not what I'm looking for. Axe in ground, maybe? That. So this is right outside where I work, right? This is literally outside of where my job is. That's insane, right? Now, that is the sort of marketing I am talking about. Right? And they did this globally in London, and it cost a lot of money, but they are willing to do this to build brand awareness for the game. Namco, right. Chaos, is there still no news about ABK games dropping? There isn't actually, Josh. They were supposed to drop in January, so I'm surprised that they haven't done it yet. But I'm guessing all these layoffs have basically blocked that. But this is a enormous amount of marketing, right? Let's be realistic. Everyone at the time was talking about this. Everyone. Is there anything else that was shown? No one cares about that. There was one in New York. Is that the only one that they're showing? Right. But there was adverts, there was stuff that they did in New York. There was other stuff. This is all like big advertising, right? Opened up pop-up shops. Exactly. This is the sort of advertising that Microsoft needs to do in Europe to build brand awareness. And they're not doing it. They're not doing anything. They're just relying on the word of mouth. Literally, this, that big wheel there, this was my lunchtime walking route that I used to take. Every lunchtime, we used to walk past here, go down this street. There's like tourist shops that you can go in there where they everything is overpriced, but there's some cool gadgets in there. It was a nice place to go. Nice little walking area. You had all like a little pop-up shops on the left over here that sold like food and stuff, Chinese, Korean, whatever. Really nice stuff. Have a good night, Josh. Have a good night. We're almost done today anyway. But, you know, that is what Microsoft needs. Minxie's Palworld stream just ended. No. Help me get to 1.1k followers. 11 to go, and I'll do it one last time for you, and I'll do it at the time. What's this? So for those of you that didn't know, Chili did actually dress up as a penguin. It was actually pretty impressive. Love to see it. Microsoft needs to go after these people. They've done irreparable harm to the brand and definitely have a case. Now, Microsoft don't need to go after them. People just need to wise up and just block him. But, you know. Shall we check out Herman? Shall we check out Herman? What's his surname? Let's check out his rant about thing. Does anyone have his channel? Herman Smith. Because I heard about his legendary rant about Palworld. And this guy has got historically bad takes. This doesn't seem like the guy. That don't seem like him. That don't seem like him either. Are you sure he's Herman Smith? There's a lot of Herman Smith that I'm destroying my channel with. Is it maybe Harmon Smith? Yeah, Harmon Smith. Yeah, the problem with Alex's streams, they start like 1:30 in the morning for me. I'm way gone by that point. All right, let's check this out and then we can call it a day.
So last night I did a warning stream talking about Palworld, the game that the indie YouTube scene is pretending is like gonna be the Pokemon killer. It's gonna be some big thing. It has 500,000 concurrent players on Steam. It's sold over 1 million copies. It's over for the Pokemon company. It's over for Nintendo, right? I talked about what people were gonna do. And, yeah, I was right. Like, all day long, we were bombarded with ridiculous notions that, like, oh, this game is a masterpiece. Oh, look at me play this game. Oh, look at how great it is. And now that the hype session is over, much like Temtem before it, the game is completely forgotten. It is dwindling.
Wait, what? Excuse me? What? Excuse me? You what? That's players right now. My dude. My dude. I think you might have some things wrong there.
In popularity. More and more people are starting to notice, like, what's going on. The game is being shilled. You know, YouTubers aren't exactly the the biggest advocates for game quality anyway, right? They just jump onto trends, right? So with that in mind, with what's been going on, like, what can we learn from this, right? What can we learn from this experience? Well, first of all, it doesn't seem to be
Hey, pal boss.
possible to use the same kind of techniques to prop up a game like this that the industry uses for Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever, right? Because Overwatch had like a similar kind of like thing where people came out and they tried screaming about, oh man, there are no colorful online shooters in this market. Overwatch is completely unique in this regard. And then meanwhile, like Splatoon came out last year, was better put together, like remained relevant longer, right? Was more unique and creative and had more interesting characters, right? Splatoon stomped Overwatch in every single.
Look, say what you want about Splatoon. Overwatch has the footer scene and the hentai scene covered. It's never going to be more popular. Look, I'm just saying, I don't care if you all want to judge me. You've all seen it. It's everywhere.
Single way, shape, and form. But for the first 10 years, almost, yeah, about half that long, about 5 years. For the first several years, people were saying the exact opposite. Until Overwatch completely fell off a cliff, people were saying Overwatch was this big phenomenon. 40 million players online at once or something like that. It's one of the most popular things ever. Well,
For real?
If it was so popular, it wouldn't have fallen off the way it did.
Why do you know this,
Like,
Devastator?
I don't understand what's so hard to understand about.
Devastator, the real question is, why do you know this information? At least with Overwatch, it's everywhere you turn. Why do you know this information, Devastator 2000? Can someone teach that guy to position his camera? Nope. Paul Morrow? Nope. Because Rule 54 exists, TheChaosLounge.
About this, and meanwhile, like Splatoon is still going, and to this day, people will try to do this thing that like, Blizzard made all these mistakes, like Overwatch was popular at one point, blah 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 blah. But no. What actually happened is that you latched onto a trend and began supporting that trend. You began feeding into the beast. You were part of the process of pretending this game was some Game of the Year contender, right? When in reality, it wasn't really relevant in any way, shape, or form. Overwatch is a really interesting example because right now you can't even go back and play the Overwatch that people supposedly liked. That was the thing with World of Warcraft, was that like people thought that like, oh, if we just go back to WoW Classic, it'll be good again. But that didn't happen, right?
I mean, classics never do work out well, right? That's they bring back a lot of nostalgia. I get that, but I get the whole classic point. Overwatch, it's still doing well in numbers. Despite people being upset with the direction it's taken and the cancelled PvE stuff, it's still up there.
Because the game was never good to begin with. It was just a new, novel thing to you at the time, and you got tired of it. And you don't want to admit it, right? You don't want to admit that the game wasn't that good to
Nah, Devastator is still 1.0.
begin with. So you kind of jump through hoops and make excuses and kind of justify your attitude. You kind of justify why you act this way about these products. You kind of justify why things are becoming so... why these games are forgotten so quickly, right? Like Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3. Like, long term, these games are not going to be relevant. Elden Ring is already trailing behind Dark Souls in best games ever made polls, right? Elden Ring is never going to be more popular than Dark Souls. Just like Dark Souls is never going to be more popular than Skyrim. And just like how Skyrim is never...
You what, mate? Elden Ring? Wait. Who said Elden Ring is never going to be popular? Wasn't Elden Ring in this list? I could have sworn Elden Ring was in this list, unless it's been... There you go. it's still got like 60,000 people playing on PC. I don't know what it is for consoles, but 60,000 is still healthy for a game that's a single-player game that's been out for over a year.
Going to be more popular than Zelda, right? Like, there is really nothing you can do, right, about to establish to demolish these established Nintendo properties, right? By saying that like Power World is going to like beat Pokemon, you would have to have a TCG, you would have to have a merchandise line, you would have to have, you know, an anime adaptation, you would have to have like all of this stuff, right?
And all of that stuff is going to happen. As this game continues to expand, continues to explode, continues to get bigger, it is going to happen.
All of these highly successful, lucrative products on top of the video game franchise, right? And whatever you think about the video game franchise right now, like, there's no denying that Pokemon is actually doing quite a bit better in those other avenues, right? Because I would have said before,
Pokemon is doing really, I mean, sales-wise, yeah, but the games are shit. There's been no innovation in those games for donkeys, man. They've been writing off that name for ages. How the fuck did you turn around and say stupid shit like that?
before Gen 8, like before Dexit, like the big controversial thing people
Hey,
had about
Chris
the brand
Rose.
was how the anime was being treated. How they didn't retire Ash and how they weren't like really evolving the formula and how like it was in this weird spot. Like old fans didn't want to keep watching it, but new ones weren't really coming in. So they decided to finally retire Ash as a character and bring in some new people and like finally get some fresh blood in there and finally get some more creative storytelling and finally do some more things. Like years ago, the anime was in trouble. But then, like, the games picked up the slack now, and now with, like, the games kind of being attacked by these pretendos, like, the anime is kind of stepping up. You know, the TCG is stepping up. You know, like, the mobile apps are stepping up. Like, there is no way in the world that Power World, like, a glitchy, uninspired, you know, straight-up plagiarized mess is ever going to topple Pokemon. And that was obvious to me from the beginning, before I even looked at what the game was and what it was like.
I mean, he says this after Pokemon stole everything from Dragon Quest. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Before I started realizing that, like, wow, these are just Pokemon designs with, like, different typings and different colors, right? like.
No, they're actually quite a bit different.
Before I realized how, like, blatant it was, right? Like, I was saying that.
If it was blatant, do you see how Nintendo went to that Pokemon modder and took that straight down immediately? Power World would have been shut down by now. Pure and simple. It would have been shut down by now. The fact that it isn't basically tells you that Nintendo can't do anything because the game is different enough. It's not plagiarizing or doing anything. Because if it was plagiarizing in any way, shape, or form, they would have been given a cease and desist already by Nintendo. I've seen Nintendo destroy YouTube channels by giving them free strikes on free, you know, multiple different videos because they use Pokemon music to get the, you know, their channels with over 500,000 subs deleted because that is the type of shit company Nintendo is.
But like, this is another Temtem. This is another Yokai Watch. This is another Digimon. You know, a flash in the pan thing that's relevant because, like, people desperately need Pokemon to go away so they can start claiming that Nintendo is doomed, but, like, it just isn't happening. Like, Pokemon, it's interesting because it's not just the fact that it's so entrenched and so popular. Like, Pokemon is completely dominant in its niche, right? In a lot of ways, like, I said this on my stream, like, I don't think you're ever going to topple Pokemon by doing the same thing as it is, right?
So that's why they're not doing what Pokemon's doing. They're looking at ways to tackle a niche that people enjoy, and that's why you've got like a survival-based Pokemon game, which is what people wanted, an open-world survival-based game, and it's, you know, doing the rounds, and people are loving it. Devastator, this is why I do not stream Nintendo games. I mean, I would love to stream games like Mario Wonders or, you know, Splatoon or, you know, just Nintendo games in general where we can, like, you know, play like Mario Party with the community and stuff. I don't mind doing that like offline, but on stream, I just won't touch Nintendo games at all, because Nintendo can have a proven track record where they will come and instead of just giving you a warning, they issue copyright strikes, and that's bad for your channel, because all it needs is free strikes and you're out. Your whole channel gets deleted. Yeah, on Twitch you can just, I mean, I guess you could do the same on YouTube as well, where you could just stream it and then make your video private so no one else can see it. You know, that's always an option, I guess, but just to cover your back, I just don't do it. I've worked so hard to build a channel. There's no way I want Nintendo to come along and say, right, I saw you streaming this, you're mine.
Looking at Power World and seeing the designs and seeing like the monsters and the typings and just like the way the world is set up and stuff like that, like it's all just very Pokemon-esque, right? But they're not doing anything new with it, and they're not doing anything uninspired with it. Like they're not doing anything inspired with it. Like it's just the same thing, but ooh, you can craft. Like that's like the stupidest, like most basic thing you can possibly add to a game like this. Is like, ooh, you can add crafting. You can make anything you want. Like it's like it's one of those that kind of thing was being made fun of 10 years ago, right? And now look at us, right? Gamers are doing the same thing they've done for the last several years, is prop up random games from small Chinese companies that are just plagiarizing Nintendo IPs. You know, plagiarizing Zelda with Genshin Impact, plagiarizing Pokemon with...
I mean, Genshin Impact is a better game. There, I said it. Just looking at my window to see where the Nintendo horde is. Well, I can see the pitchforks and knives and the torches coming my way, so this probably isn't going to end well for me tonight. But
with a Power World, you know, plagiarizing Animal Crossing, whatever.
If the stream cuts out, you know why.
It's the same thing over
I've been taken out by the Nintendites.
Right? Nintendo is so dominant.
Not the Deadites, but the Nintendites.
You know, anything that isn't a realistic first-person shooter or like a third-person action game where you go around killing the police, right? Like anything that isn't that, like Nintendo is dominant in. And like I don't think the rest of the industry is gonna ever be able to catch up by Pokemon by putting out a clone of it. Like it isn't gonna work. Pokemon innovates too much. They're glitch.
Innovates. What have they innovated with? What's he smoking? What the fuck is he smoking? TheChaosLounge in a Pikachu costume? Ha! I'll tell you what, if we get to 20,000 subs on the channel, I'll do it. 20,000 subs this year.
Free. They introduce new Pokemon every generation. Like, there fundamentally is no real demand for a Pokemon clone. You know, Dragon Quest Monsters was considered a huge success when it sold 1 million units. Meanwhile, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is selling like what? Like 25 million, right? And counting, plus the DLC, plus everything else that's happening, you know, plus the fact we're going to get a new game, like, in the next couple of years.
I mean, the fact is, anything with the word M on it, or Pokemon on it, is going to sell like hotcakes. Nintendo fans will buy anything that's got it on there. There's a reason why Nintendo fans have like 30,000, you know, each of them have like 20 Nintendo Switches, one for each Pokemon color.
Right, like, how in the world are you ever going to compete with that? Like, how in the world can you do it? And the answer is you don't. Like, that's the reality that people really need to accept is that...
I mean, the reality is, who's talking about Pokemon right now? The only reason Pokemon is even being spoken about is because people are comparing it to Power World. It's really weird because now Pokemon is being compared to Power World rather than Power World being compared to Pokemon, because Power World is everywhere right now. It's a phenomenon.
That, like, Pokemon, much like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, is never, ever, ever going to be eclipsed in its niche. right? Like, it is there to stay. It is there to remain dominant. It is there to be like the apex of that genre in popularity, if for nothing else, simply for brand recognition. But like, everybody is desperate for this IP to be like to be taken out because they just have nothing else. They need this IP to fail so they can like have something they can complain about when it comes to Nintendo. And
no, they just want Nintendo to do better. They want Nintendo games to be better. They want their franchise to actually evolve and provide a, you know, an experience that they haven't done. Nintendo hasn't innovated Pokemon in so long. And they've been getting worse over the years. It's kind of like how Shin Megami Tensei is compared to the side series Persona. Yeah.
Power World is just the most recent, most pathetic attempt at doing that.
Man, this dude...
Now we have the opportunity.
Nope. I don't know what this is. Criffin Gaming. That's too long of a video. But yeah, that's where we're at. Folks, it is 1:15, so I think I'm going to call it there. Chaos Furry Lounge. Ha! But, you know, it's a shame we didn't get a single caller in today. We put the link up so many times. Not one of you wanted to jump in and say something, ask a question, get a point across. Ah. But that's going to be it for me for tonight. Not sure if I'm going to be around over the weekend. Like I said, it's difficult. But if I am, it will be a, you know, a random stream, and I'll post it in my Discord and on my Twitter, so make sure you're following me there, and hopefully there'll be a notification going out. A lot of you seem to have liked Hellblade, but it seems pretty split. So looks like we'll go with Hellblade first, and we'll look at Yuffie DLC after. The Yuffie DLC I need to do before February the 29th, though. All right. That's it. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight, guys. As always, it's been fun, engaging, and I'll see you in the next one. Maybe this weekend. Who knows? But we'll play some video games rather than just doing news. Wife kidnapped me to play her Bat Wars on Xbox. Oh, that's a shame, mate. Right. Have a good one, everyone. And I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.